Hello and welcome to my next video. So in this one, I'm going to talk a bit about how to become an adjunct instructor and some things that I think are important to be aware of if you're looking to pivot from, let's say, a clinical role or working as a mental health provider into the higher education space. So I've been working in higher education since 2017. I've worked for several different institutions. And so I'm going to be sharing some tips and some advice that I've learned along the way throughout my time as a higher education instructor. I've also had a chance to work full time as a faculty member too. So I will say that right now the field is super saturated. So the more you apply, the higher your chances are of getting a position. But without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. So first and foremost, adjunct faculty are really hired to fulfill usually some type of hiring needs, obviously. So typically, full time faculty at an institution are given the choice of the course that they want to teach. And then the courses that they don't want to teach tend to be handed out or at least assigned to adjunct faculty, which means that you don't always have as much say over what classes you get assigned to. There are some institutions that give you the chance to really decide and pick what courses you want to teach. Other ones just kind of assign you the course based on the need and the student enrollment. Adjunct work can be done either online or on ground, depending on the type of school that you want to work for. Right now, I work 100% remotely, so I work for schools that have online programs, but there are also a lot of needs with schools that are on ground, and oftentimes that can be a good way to get your foot in the door for online positions if you start to work on ground at a campus or university that's local to you. So, in general, adjunct faculty members teach based on student need, and they tend to be the first ones hired and the first ones fired. There aren't a lot of job protections, and sometimes you don't have as much autonomy because your course is already created and you're just kind of teaching the content that's already been curated specifically for the course. Um, some of the requirements for adjunct instructor, especially those that are working in, let's say, in the undergraduate realm, would be having at least 18 graduate hours in the topic or the discipline. For instance, I do teach social work, so I'm a master's degree in social work. I also teach psychology, and I have a PhD in psychology. So depending on the discipline that you want to teach, you do need to have 18 hours of documented credit hours in that topic or that discipline. It's also helpful to have had some experience teaching in the past. Becoming an adjunct instructor is getting more competitive. So, the more teaching experience you have, the more marketable you are as a potential employee. A lot of jobs also require some type of professional license or certification. The schools that I teach for, some of them have required me to have be a licensed clinical social worker or to have an independent license already. So, depending on the type of role that you want to be in and the type of discipline that you're in, sometimes they do require that you have a professional certification, whether you're a licensed psychologist, a licensed mental health counselor, or a licensed social worker. They do sometimes want to see that evidence that you do have that licensure as part of your professional development and as somebody that can hopefully really bridge the gap between application and theory for students. Also, when it comes to what to include in your resume, there's some things you definitely want to make sure that you highlight. First and foremost, 100% you want to talk about any type of teaching, presenting, or guest speaking experiences that you have. If you created a webinar, if you presented at a conference, if you've created some type of training, these are all things you absolutely 100% want to include on your resume because they're looking for people that have some type of leadership experience and have talked in front of a group of people before. If you don't have a lot of public speaking experience, this would be a good time to maybe get some, or even just work on really bulking up and highlighting the ways on your resume that you've shown leadership and that you've, let's say, taught a group of people. It's also helpful to have supervisor and managerial experience and also helpful to have experience in curriculum development or training. So, just like I was saying before, if you've done any of those things in a different role, that's something that you want to highlight on your resume or your CV just in general. So with the interview, with higher ed, sometimes the interview process can look different depending on the school. I've found that a lot of times interviews take a while. If you apply and you get called back for interview, there can be a really long time frame, and that really does depend on the enrollment at the university and how quickly they want to get somebody to fill the role. However, it can be a long time. So interviews are typically with faculty members. The ones I've been to have almost all been panel interviews. So I'm talking to at least usually between 2 to 5 people and having a conversation about the role, the expectations, and what they're looking for in an instructor. There's also interviews I've been on, there's a lot of behavioral questions as far as what would you do if questions when you're asked to describe a scenario. When you're given a scenario, then asked to talk about what you would do specifically in that scenario. Additionally, a lot of schools require you to have some type of teaching demonstration. They want to know that you know what you're talking about. And so part of that is typically putting together some type of presentation of sorts and then presenting the topic to the faculty members. They usually give you a topic, or in my experience, sometimes they do let you pick, but more often than that, sometimes they give you a topic. So the demonstration of teaching is really the time where you want to shine, especially if you don't have a lot of teaching experience. This is really the time where you're demonstrating that you are capable of teaching and speaking and leading an audience. So when it comes to doing a presentation, just make sure that it's clear, it's concise, and you're meeting the time requirements of whatever time you're allotted for within the interview. Next steps when it comes to looking for positions: higher ed jobs, Indeed, the Chronicle of Higher Education, or CSW or any other accreditation website can be really good for steps to look for. Higher ed jobs has a system where you can actually kind of put in your search terms and create like a job agent, so you get emails with any jobs that come up that fit your criteria. So if you're really serious about pivoting and looking into going into this field specifically, I really recommend that you go ahead and kind of put in your parameters and just get the job aid. So whenever those positions pop up, you get the automatic email so that you know it's available in your area. But also there's a chance where you can filter by remote work. So if you're looking for specifically a job that has a remote opportunity or remote work, you can filter those so that that's only the one, those are the only positions that get emailed to you. um, yeah, so that's pretty much it. I wish you all the best. Right now, being an adjunct instructor is definitely kind of a numbers game. I know that for me, it took me over 75 applications to get my first interview. So don't be discouraged if you get a whole bunch of rejections. That sometimes is par for the course. Just keep on applying, and eventually you will find something. That's it for now. Thank you so much for watching. Please be sure to like and subscribe, and I will catch you on the next video.